this room before for one of these talks, and for those of you who have not been privileged yet to sit on my porch and share a beverage, and for those of you that were just invited back again this summer, and you better take me up on my offer when my house is going to be empty for 2 weeks. Our son's getting married in Alaska in August, so we're going to be on the high seas, and I don't know if everybody at home is actually getting the Facebook thing. There's stuff rolling through there. So I'm kind of hoping that it's actually working and that we're not just like sending blank stuff out. So if anybody has a Facebook, Wendy's going to check it real quick. So this is kind of awesome to be here tonight. I thank you all for coming because you've forced me to... and Wendy checked it and now I'm hearing myself. It's kind of forced me to move forward and shift gears because I have had in my head for many years now the title Shifting Gears, which I was kind of told in the meditation that was supposed to be the name of my next book, but I didn't know what it was supposed to be about. So I'm like, well, you give me a title and like you didn't download the rest of the stuff, so like what gives? Anyway, I had committed to do these talks while I was here. And Ann said, oh, by the way, do you have your talk done for next 2 weeks from now? And anyway, I finished at dinner with my friends, and I feel bad because I was like slightly distracted, but I've been really busy since I've been here. So anyway, it's all good, and sit back, relax, enjoy the journey, and this will actually be on Facebook eventually. There we go. So the title changed 10 times since last week, but it's now Shifting Gears. From living life with distractions to living life with intention. And what a great gift that I got this title, because I love what it says, because the title that I had before had a lot of negatives, not negatives like don'ts, nots kind of things, like not distracted. And I realized like the universe doesn't listen to no's, nots, and negatives. So what we're going to do is if you put out an intention in the world, and I always say to my patients, and any of you know this if you went to the OR with me, I say, what do you ask for? Clear nodes and clear margins. Clear nodes and clear margins. You don't ask for no cancer because the universe doesn't hear the no. So you always want to put out the positive intention. So I learned a lesson from myself making this talk tonight because I really do want to set the intention of living with intention. And we all live a lot of distraction in our lives. And I did have some distraction at dinner, and it was not because I was slow and silly and didn't want to do this talk. It's because I was present everywhere I was for the past 4 days. You know, in the OR with my family, with my accountant, driving, which you have to be when you're driving. And, are they coming? What is that? Oh, it's on here. There's little likes. I'm sorry, I don't do Facebook Live stuff that much. And there's these little hearts that are popping up there. So this is why I should have turned it around. I should have turned it around. All right, so can you pick me out in the picture?
Yes.
Who's me?
You're over here.
Where am I?
On the right.
I'm sitting on my dad's lap.
Yes.
And does anyone know where Ann is? Ann, who runs the foundation? Guess? Red dress, you got it. Ann is the middle child. She's always been the what's it called? The mediator or the intermediate. Like she always solves everything, as she still does today. Anyway, this was a much simpler time. This was probably circa 1967, because I look about 6 years old, don't I? And in 1967, we didn't have these distractions. We didn't even have remote controls for our TVs. You actually had to get up off your butt and change the channel. Go figure. We didn't have video games. We didn't have cell phones. We had one phone on the wall in the kitchen, and my dad knew everybody that called the house for you. You knew who was calling you to ask you out on a date. There was nothing secretively going on, and dinner was around the table every night. It wasn't at fast food. It wasn't a drive-through. It was actually sitting down and being part of a family. And for that gift, I have to thank my parents because I am actually quite happy that we didn't come from a wealthy background. Not that anyone that comes from a wealthy background doesn't get this, but I think that we got a really special, I call it the Norman Rockwell life. That is a Norman Rockwell picture, because if you saw the church picture from the year before, the year after, you would see the dress on the person older than you, on the next one younger than you. And that's what made it special. So this talk is really a great gift to my dad, Irv Bachman. And he's not watching live because he's probably watching Jeopardy because it's at the same time. And there's no way my dad is missing Jeopardy to watch me on something he can get on the computer tomorrow. So when we were young and learning how to drive, my dad was adamant that when we learn to drive, you learn how to drive a stick shift. And for those of you who don't know what a stick shift is, it's a gear shift. It's a thing in the middle of the car that doesn't just go from reverse to park to neutral. A gear shift is a mechanical device used to engage, notice the word engage, or disengage gears. So the way that a gear shift works in a manual transmission, or this is what I find the most amazing, it was called a standard transmission, and now it's not the standard, it's not the norm, it's the odd duck, and you have to pay extra in order to special. But years ago, you had to pay extra to have an automatic transmission. And we have completely shifted in how we look at things. So my dad made sure we could drive a standard transmission. Any guesses as to why? Anybody know? Yeah, here's my dad. My dad was a cop. He rode a Harley. He was a motorcycle cop in York, Pennsylvania. And the reason we had to learn how to drive a manual transmission is because automatic transmissions were becoming popular. And he was afraid that we would be out with our friends and someone would be drinking and we wouldn't be able to get home safely because we couldn't drive the car. So we had to learn how to drive a manual transmission. The reason my kids had to learn how to drive a manual transmission, I didn't want them to be distracted by cell phones, radios, CD players. I wanted them to be focused on that activity of driving the car. How many of you in this audience know how to drive a standard transmission? How many of you don't? Okay.
I was taught, but I don't remember.
So it's an art. I mean I see shifting gears and driving a standard transmission as a lost art because we've become so automated. And so the whole idea about this whole concept of shifting gears, it's not really about driving the car. But because my dad gave me that great gift as a kid, it's the gift I want to give back to my dad. So we've gone from, 6 on the floor and 3 on the column, which we had this hideous car. Thank God my sister Amy safely wrecked it into a tree because I did not want to drive. It was 3 gears on the column, and she went around the corner, and I think she hit water and went into a tree. Nobody was hurt, but my dad came back and I was just learning how to drive. My dad came back and he said, well, I'm getting a new car. It's called a Camaro. I didn't know what a Camaro was. When that Camaro pulled up, I was like, oh yeah, because it was a 3-speed on the floor, but it was amazing because I did not have to learn how to drive the column stick shift. So, but here's the deal. We've gotten to a place where technology is driving our lives. Think about it. How much technology in a day? I mean, seriously, that's why I was laughing my rear end off because we called last week to ask, can I get on Facebook with the hospital internet or am I going to get blocked? Because I thought, I'll pop my phone up like I did in 3 seconds and put it on the thing. But I think there have been 4 techies have been working on this for days, trying to figure out how we could do this. And finally, we're doing a WebEx from Holy Redeemer right now out to the world where people have to get on their phone and their computer to see it. But little Facebook Live came through. So how do we do this? How can we turn around and make technology become something that enhances our lives instead of controlling our lives? Why is it driving us? And I know you're all sitting here thinking about it right now because when you think of the amount of technology, and I came from the days where we had paper charts and no electronic medical records. And there are some young doctors coming out in practice who know nothing but the electronics. They don't know about that face-to-face communication with the patient sitting there eye to eye the entire time because their faces are planted in the computer. And for that, it's sad. So I'm going to get back in the driver's seat because I think I can teach everybody in this room how to drive a manual transmission this evening, even for those of you who haven't done it in a while and those of you who have never done it. Because we're going to learn how to put the clutch in, engage the clutch, shift the gears, and slip it. So I did a little bit of research, which wasn't really hard because I used the internet, which is a fabulous source when you want that information, you want it fast, and it's 4 o'clock in the afternoon when you need to do a talk and you're trying to pull some pictures off the internet to make it look like you did a really good job with this. So in 1876, Alexander Graham Bell, look at this first telephone, do you believe that? It was only 150 years ago, guys. It's not that long ago. And then we went to The little phone that you picked it up. Remember the operators had to plug the little things in, and then you had the exchanges. And Brenda, I think you had this when you grew up, where you had like multiple people shared a party line, and you could pick up the phone and somebody else was on. God forbid now HIPAA. Could you imagine that with party lines? And then the rotary phone, that was a big deal. And then the bag phone. Who in this room had a bag phone? Was that the funniest thing ever? I remember when I was a surgical resident, we had these bag phones, and I'm thinking, God, this is such advanced technology. And now we carry our entire computer, our database, our Dropbox, our entire music file. We don't have CDs. We don't have records. We have a freaking iPhone. I mean, come on. I can get onto my patient's medical records right here on one of my 3 phones that I happen to have right now. So in 80 short years, this is even more amazing. This is the first computer, 1938. Can you believe that in 1938, we did not have to be beholden to all of the technology that we are now? What did those people do back in 1938 when they went home? They didn't have emails to check. They weren't getting text messages from their boss to find out where the meeting is tomorrow morning. They weren't downloading a PowerPoint or pulling pictures off the internet. When I started doing presentations years ago, I had to make slides, send them out to be made, and I actually worked at media productions at Western Psych in college, and we actually had to physically put the slides and cut them in and take the pictures. Computer, laptop, PDA, now the freaking watch phone. And it's so funny because, and I'm going to out Mark on this one, Brenda, because we'll go to dinner at Mark and Brenda's house, and all of a sudden I feel like I'm with Maxwell Smart. His wrist rings, and it's the kids calling from California. And I know I don't have a smartwatch yet, but you can check your text messages. Who would have thunk it? It's the Jetsons. You remember with the Jetsons, like, oh my God, they can see each other on the screen.
Yeah.
We FaceTime. For God's sake, Facebook, people are watching. People could be watching this around the world. Who knows? I don't know where they're going to be. But here's what happened. Back in 1980, when Mothers Against Drunk Drivers was created, it wasn't created because of distracted driving. It was created because of drunk driving.
Right.
And we had to change that name to distracted driving. And drinking, texting, drowsiness, it doesn't matter what distracts you. It doesn't matter whether it's a text message, a phone call. We have so much stuff going on in our lives. We're very distracted by all these things. And technology is a piece of almost each and every one of these. Can't say to the drowsiness, but if someone's up surfing the net all night, they're not going to be able to sleep well. So we got cell phones, we got Facebook, we got Instagram, we got the internet, we have reality TV, we got drugs, we got alcohol, and we need to learn to engage in conscious living, and that means getting rid of the distractions. So right now, guilty as charged. Because right now, if my husband figured out how to log in and is watching this back in Sedona, he's going to go, oh, you who has 3 cell phones, a laptop, 2 laptops from your EMRs from your 2 hospitals, who answers text messages from patients who text me because they're scared, and I give out my number because you guys don't abuse it. And when somebody needs something, that's the time that technology is doing a good thing for me, not a bad thing. But when you think about this and how much of our life is spent distracted by the other stuff, how do we get back? What do we do? Seriously, how many people date over the internet for months before they meet each other? And I had a friend once who, she met this guy, and this is years ago before there were others, it was like a chat room or whatever. And she goes, what do I do when I meet him? And he finds out I weigh 20 pounds more than I told him I weighed. I'm like, well, you stupid idiot. Like, hello? Pay attention. Reality's going to strike. But look at this. This is, when I saw this picture on the internet, I thought that is like the most perfect face of what we're doing right now. That is the true blind date. It's not meeting somebody you don't know. It's being distracted. This is my pet peeve. How many families have you gone out to dinner or seen in public? No one is talking to each other. They're disengaged. They are completely disconnected. Somebody's texting, somebody's emailing, somebody's Facebooking, somebody's Instagramming, and nobody's talking to each other. And that's where I look back to Irvin Leany Bachman, who we sat around the table, and yes, I was at the very end of there were all 9 of us around the table, and I got to sit next to my dad, which I thought was like the place of honor, but it was actually the last place the plate came with the food. So I have to give credit to my svelte physique from being the 7th of 7 and being at the end of the plate. So here's our Skype technology, and here's what we did. And this is a new thing that we've done since we moved to Sedona. And I don't know why I didn't think of this when I lived in Bucks County, because my kids weren't living at home. But suddenly I felt like I was far away and I needed to stay connected. So I said, you guys okay with Skype dinners? And here's what's funny. For the past 3 times we've done this, I kept making a mental note. Take a screenshot. Take a screenshot. You're going to need it for your talk. Well, I forgot because I was so engaged. We were 3.5 hours the other night. 3.5 hours with our adult sons. We cooked dinner, we sat and ate dinner, we cleaned up the dishes, we're sitting by the fire, and Joe says to me, he goes, we've been on this for 3.5 hours. And I said, I know, our kids still like us. I mean, and I thought about this, and I'm like, why don't we do this with Wendy and Jody? And like, we've got friends all over the world, and you don't actually have to physically be in the same room. Yes, it's nice, and it's wonderful, we all like to do it. But in the comfort of your own home, you get to have dinner with the people that you love. And this is a great way to use technology. So I'm going to coin this. They're going to be called Skype Dinners. So if anybody wants to have a Skype dinner, I think it's a great idea. I'm happy to Skype with you. You may not want what's on my menu these days, but and we're going to get to that. But that's my new way to use technology. So we're going to shift topics, and that's why this is up here. This is Antelope Canyon. That gorgeous sky at the beginning in this is thanks to my son, Dean Dupree, who is an amazing photographer, and took these pics. And he was coming out to Sedona for spring break this Friday. Not that I'm that happy, but I am thrilled beyond belief that he and his girlfriend are coming out there. So this is these are my 5 sisters, my mom and dad. My mom isn't always there because she has Alzheimer's, and that's kind of a bummer. But my family's amazing. Those of you guys know my brother passed away when I was 17. He was killed by a drunk driver, which totally changed my life. And not going to be a topic for tonight because I talked about it in my last talk. If you're on Facebook, you can go look at that one. But, so my mom and my brother are missing from this picture. My brother physically and my mom mentally. And it really needs to make you take stock in what matters in life. Because I didn't know 10 years ago that my mom wasn't going to be here knowing what I wanted to say to her. And there's a lot of things I probably should have said to her, like thanking her profusely for being a great mom and being a great role model and being an amazing caregiver. So I call my mom, the car runs, but the circuits do not communicate because her heart and lungs are working. And I went this weekend to see her, and it took about 5 pictures to get her to really smile because she was just not in the mood for us to be there, but it's okay. She loves us anyway. So Alzheimer's disease is a disease that you wish on no one. It's a very tough disease because it robs you of those moments of that person. It robs you of, getting that hug that they know you. But I know on some level my mom knows me. But I had to find a gift in Alzheimer's because I believe that if we cannot look for something positive in everything that happens in our lives, that we're just going to be able to let that negative rise to the top. So this is the shift because my mom was always a caregiver, always giving and giving and giving and giving. She never received. She took care of everybody every day of her life until she got Alzheimer's. So now I say she wakes up daily in the gap, and I had to ask Jody, I go, what's that place in between the thoughts that we try to get to in yoga and meditation? She's like, it's like the gap. I'm like, really? The gap? So I'm going to call it the gap because Jody said it's the gap. It's the gap. It's a great gap. And it's that place in between the thoughts. It's that place in between where you're going and where you're coming from, and you're actually right in that moment. So here's my mom's gift. She wakes up in the morning and she doesn't have a to-do list. How many of you have a to-do list every morning when you wake up? You're like looking at all those things, you're thinking, what can I cross off today? And my mom has no sorrow because she doesn't wake up every morning remembering that she lost a son. And to me, that is the greatest gift that Alzheimer's could give her, because that is the one thing that I know when she had her mental capacity with her was the one thing that was giving her such great sorrow, and it didn't matter how many other kids she had. You know, she woke up every morning knowing that she lost a son. So this is Sedona, kids. I know it's really ugly. It's horrible. It's a bad place to go, but it's incredibly healing. This is Thanksgiving morning with my family. Had a not good first balloon ride many years ago in Scottsdale, but my future daughter-in-law Hannah really was on her bucket list. And my first patient in Sedona, her son-in-law happens to have the company, Red Rock Balloons, awesome company, and she convinced me and he convinced me, and it was the most amazing ride. And if you come to Sedona, you got to do it. So we did this ride on Thanksgiving morning, and it was absolutely phenomenal. So I have to thank my future daughter-in-law, Hannah, for making me step out of my comfort zone and getting on the bus. So if you're sitting in this room, you're probably here because you know me through healthcare in some way. And our health is our greatest of wealth. I learned that my first year when I went to Haiti, to Haiti for a mission. Santé c'est riche. I can't even say it. It's like santé c'est riche. Riches. It's supposed to be riches. But the riches we have in life start with our health. Think about all the wealthy people that are no longer alive, who had all the money in the world, but they couldn't buy their way out of cancer. They couldn't buy their way out of heart disease. My CEO, Mike Lane, sent this to us a while ago, and I typically pilfer these pictures when he pulls them out of magazines, and I save them in my little Dropbox of, I'm going to use this someday. And if our beds in the hospital are full, it means we failed in what our mission was in life. Think about it. We've become the society of illness treaters, not healthcare providers. And I always think that's such an oxymoron, because we treat disease. And becoming a healthcare provider, again, is such an important part of who I am. And so this is a quote that I've changed a little bit, because it was his and not her, and they didn't have anything about the spirit. But the doctor of the future will give no medicine, but will interest his or her patients in the care of the human frame, in diet, in the cause and prevention of disease, while inspiring them to nurture the human spirit. Sounds like a utopian society, doesn't it? And I really think we need to bring the healing back into healthcare. It's a part of the process that I know, for me, without the healing part, it would just be a job. Which is why we do what we do. So I believe that drastic times require drastic measures, and what we have to do is kind of look at how we're living our lives and how we're nurturing our bodies. Diet and nutrition have to become top of the list. I can't tell you how many people I know have had heart attacks and cancer, and no one discusses nutrition with them. It's not on the list. It's not important, because if you get your prescription and you put it in a bottle, it's going to make you better. But the pills treat the symptoms, not the cause of disease. So our DNA cannot catch up. When you think about how fast technology, over 80 years with the computers, over 150 years with telephones, our DNA is going, wait a minute, we've only had 3 generations of people. We need more generations to catch up with all of this technology and all of this change. So these are 2 books that I recommend that if you haven't read them. My husband's reading How Not to Die. It was given to him by Bill Scarlett, one of my favorite plastic surgeons on the planet, and an amazing guy he's been vegan for 10 years, and I gave him a lot of crap over the years as my vegan friend when we'd go out to steakhouses doing lectures across the country, and he'd be ordering eggplant or arugula salad, and he would look at the calamari go past him, and I'll get into that later. Anyway, I think that drastic times require drastic measures, and that means we have to take a really hard look at what we're doing, how we're teaching, and how we're taking care of our patients. So, on that note, I registered for a conference in January of this year called Medicine That Heals. Go figure. And it's food is medicine. Oh my goodness. So because this was something that was so important for me, I said, why don't I call the people that I can drag along with the ball and chain? So I drug Jody there, and I drug Aunt Catherine there, and I drug Connie there, and I drug my girlfriend Deb there, and I drug my friend June there, and we went and watched 48 hours of transformational lectures, met transformational people. And there's a study that's ongoing that I encourage anybody who is interested in investing in their health and investing in how we're going to show the rest of the world that diet and nutrition matter. It's called the Nutri study, and there's actually a special arm for women who are breast cancer survivors. It is a great study. It's sponsored by Northern Arizona University, and NAU and NAH, the hospital that I'm with in Arizona, are partners in crime with this. And we have programs through our hospital to help empower our employees become the healthiest they can be as well. So Winston Churchill said, "He who fails to plan is planning to fail." Means that you don't get up in the morning and have a healthy lunch packed in the fridge if you didn't think about it the night before. You don't have meals planned out for the week if you haven't given it some thought. And remember, when we don't take time to take care of ourselves, we can't take care of anybody else. So, while I was at the conference, because I had my phone with me, and we had a little break, I went onto Amazon. And this is the crazy part. This is the part of technology I love. Because I didn't have to make a note for myself to do it later. I just did it now. I just did it right then. I ordered this cookbook, and Amazon sent it to my boys, their girlfriends, and me. And then Connie, you were the Instapot girl, right?
Yeah.
Connie says, "You got to get an Instapot." I'm like, you can't even get them on Amazon right now. They are sold out. I went on today to try to get the picture. What? I bought them all. This little Instapot thing has changed our life. Well, Joe's going to say it's changed his life because he does the cooking with this. But this Instapot thing has helped me and Joe and all my friends in this room that came to this conference kind of pony up and get a whole new level of cooking. And this is what our meals look like now. This was posted on our Intentional Living page on Facebook. And for those of you that would like to live intentionally, we might think about letting you on our Facebook page. But you got to be in. So what we're doing is we're trying to share our good habits that we created that weekend with each other, because it's always easier to fall off the wagon than to stay on the bus. Think about it. So, we're eating a whole food plant-based diet. I'm not saying it's the right diet for you. I'm just saying that I looked at this like drastic times require drastic measures. So, does anybody know what STEMI is? And if you're a nurse, don't answer. Anybody that's non-medical know what STEMI is? Trish Blake, you work in a hospital. Do you know what it is? Good girl. See, she works in a... next time I'm going to say non-hospital employed person ever. Perfect. So, STEMI stands for ST Elevation MI. And I honestly didn't know what it was last week, Trish. That's why I'm laughing, because I have to take ACLS, so I started studying for my course. Because I haven't taken ACLS for years. But I had to take my pre-course last week. I'm like, what the heck is STEMI? And I'm looking it up. I'm like going, oh, ST Elevation MI. It's a good thing I don't have to run to those codes in the hospital. But why is this important? STEMI is how we now identify patients that come into the hospital, like trying to fix their heart before they code, fix their heart before they infarct. So it's ST Elevation. So it's the elevation on the ECG. And Caldwell Esselstyn was one of our keynote speakers at the conference out there, and he really helped me shift my perspective on how we look at heart disease and prevention. And in our family, we have the risk of Alzheimer's, heart disease, cancers. So we came back from the conference, and we sat at our house, and we all were cooking healthy, and we started talking to Joe, and Joe picked up this book, and we all decided we were going to take a hard, cold look at how we eat, what we eat, and how are we living intentionally. And we got our baseline labs drawn, and Joe's family has heart disease in the family, so there's an opportunity for improvement. And we just decided we were going to do this for 3 months, recheck our labs and see where we are. And I thought that was kind of cool, but I've taken a lot of crap from some of my doctor colleagues because they're like, what do you mean you're not eating meat? What do you mean you're not eating dairy? What do you mean? And I'm like, I'm making a choice. I made a conscious decision. And today, when I couldn't get into a dictation system to dictate a report, I was walking aimlessly around the hospital and ran into a friend who told me about another friend who's my exact age, who's healthier than I am, who exercises with my same trainer in Newtown. The guy is so physically fit, if you saw him, you would call him a specimen of physical Adonisness. Gorgeous guy, great shape, 2 weeks ago, walking out of the hospital, started having chest pain. Thought it was indigestion at first. And then I love this because this is so doctor. Thought that if he ran to the ER fast, if he ran there fast, he could get there instead of like dialing 911 or calling a code or doing whatever. Gets to the ER, says to the person who sees him looking kind of ashen going through, the first person tells him to go to the front to register. The second nurse recognizes him, and he says, I'm thinking of having an MI. Throws his butt down. He's in the cath lab within 30 minutes. The cardiac surgeon happens to be in the hospital, gets a stent. And this is why these people drop over dead on, Broad Street, running the Broad Street Runner and marathons. Because you can be physically fit, you can exercise every day, but the stuff that clogs our arteries is still clogging our arteries. And so in my conversation with him today, after I was beyond thrilled that he's alive and well, he says, I've become like an addict. I'm on the internet, I'm looking. He goes, did you know that a whole food plant-based diet can totally reverse heart disease? I guess, don't you say? I said, here's Joe's cell phone. I think you need to call him because he will share his recipes from the last 8 weeks with you. But it became real to me today because prior to today, it was an experiment for our family to look at the labs to see what kind of difference this diet, this nutritional way of living can be. And today it became real because I almost lost a friend to a heart attack who should not even have been close to dying at 56. Who's healthy, who exercises. So it's not just about being thin, it's not about exercising, it's about we are what we eat, and I think that anybody in the healthcare profession knows we do not get taught anything about nutrition in medicine. But you're going to get it now. So I use these Sedona pictures to shift gears to the next topic. This is my son, Dean. I took the picture with my iPhone because he was so cute. It was so icy cold. And he's walking through the water because he wanted to get the best shot at Cathedral Walk. Another thing that happens in our fast-paced society is, for some reason, failure's not an option anymore. I don't know why that is. You're not allowed to leave a tournament without a trophy as a kid. You're not allowed to get straight A's, not allowed to not get straight A's. We got blind curves everywhere on the road of life. And sometimes you veer off the road, but you got to be able to get the car back on the road and get going again. So we need to learn it's okay to fail. And the pictures here are a little reminder to me because I was one of those moms living in that neighborhood in Upper Makefield with the kids in middle school. Went to back to school night and found out that my son had a science project due the next day that he hadn't even started. Go figure. Boys, middle-aged, not middle-aged, middle school, middle-aged. And I did call him today to ask permission to tell these stories because I said, listen, I'm about to out you on Facebook, so it's Tommy, I'll just say it because Dean would not do this, everybody knows that. So Tommy had a project due. He was supposed to actually somehow match these trees and the leaves and whatever and make this project. So I got home from back to school night at 8 o'clock, and instead of saying, listen, you idiot, you're going to fail tomorrow because you didn't do your project, and I'm okay with that because it's your grade, not mine. But what did I do? Took the flashlight, went outside, started hunting leaves and doing stuff, and I came in and Joe's looking at me like, what are you doing? I didn't want my kid to fail. I didn't want my kid to go to school and not have his homework done. And I was thinking that if he failed, I failed as a parent. But you know what? That was going to be his failure, not mine. It was his assignment. He needed to be responsible for it. He needed to be accountable for it. But I think I'm the one that needed the life lesson. So fast forward, I don't remember what happened with the project, and that's not the point. The point is that I wasn't going to let him fail. So fast forward to college. Tommy majored in mechanical engineering officially, but his real major was automotive race design. At the University of Pittsburgh, there's Benedum Engineering Hall, and at the bottom floor is the race car place where they build a race car from scratch every year. It's very cool. But it takes hours and hours and hours of time, and my son was obsessed with it, beyond obsessed, to the point that the race car that he built as a senior is now, it used to be in his dining room instead of a table. I think it made it to the garage because now he has a garage. But junior year came, and he was doing a co-op, so he did 5 years because of the co-op. not because he didn't pass, but his official last semester of his junior year, he got 2 classes that he didn't pass, that he had to pass to graduate. And I was like, well, do you think that's my problem or your problem? And so the first thing I asked was, because I'm a good parent, I said, did you fail these? Well, I guess he failed. I guess I hate to say the word failed, but he didn't do as well as he should have done. But I said, did you not do well in these classes because you didn't have the mental capability to do it and you're in the wrong major? In which case, we'll fix it. We'll figure it out. No. I said, why didn't you pass these classes? Well, the competition's in May and it was the last semester because Pitt's finishes in April. And I said, so what you're telling me is you are responsible for those grades? He said, yes. So we decided you are responsible for your senior year's tuition. Sobering moment, huh? So it became very real in July when he had to apply for student loans. And he calls me up and he says, Mom, I need line whatever off of your income tax return. So I got on the thing and I pulled it up and I gave him the number. And he says, oh. I said, honey, we're not paying for your tuition because we can't afford it. We're not paying for your tuition because you need to be responsible for your senior year of college and passing. I'm not responsible for those classes that you didn't pass, but you are. Parenting's a tough thing, and sometimes as parents we think we're giving our kids a gift by giving them the gift, but we're not really. Anyway, the race picture's up here because I jokingly now say he majored in race car design, minored in mechanical engineering, because guess what? When there were 1,000 people applying for a job at Joe Gibbs Racing as an engineer, how does a kid with no experience in the race industry get a job at Joe Gibbs Racing? Because he spent his nights in the basement of Benedum Hall building those race cars, and he had that knowledge, and he knew what he needed out of college, but he also needed to learn that to get that degree, he had to do a certain amount of work to be able to make those grades to graduate. But at the end of the day, it had to be a balance of both. It couldn't have been out of balance because he had to pass and he had to get that knowledge. And I'd much rather have him have the knowledge of how to build a race car, because that's going to get him a lot farther in life than getting a B in circuits, seriously. Anybody know what this is? Beth Matlack? So these are the handprints in the concrete in front of a hospital that we built in 2007 in Bensalem. And that's proof positive that it was mine because it fits in the thing. And my dad's a cement contractor, so we used to, every time we did something that was really important in life, is there a mouse in the house? Every time we did something important in life, the techie guy's playing with me, they're in another room somewhere. We would put our handprints or feet prints or something, put initials in concrete. And so those handprints are still in front of DSI today. And when we talk about, failures in life and things that we fail at, some people said to me, oh, it must have been really so difficult to fail at building that hospital in Bensalem. I said, you know what, we didn't fail at building the hospital in Bensalem. We didn't fail at making a healthcare model to provide comprehensive care for patients. What failed was the economy, and it's unfortunate because the economy failed at a time that was really bad timing for this institution to go forward. But out of every failure in our life, you get something good. And what I got out of this failure in my life is this fabulous place I'm sitting in right now called Holy Redeemer Health System. Because I never would have been here if that place hadn't failed. And Holy Redeemers now, whether you know it or not, become a place that speaks to everything that we spoke of at DSI at that comprehensive breast care hospital, about setting an intention for patients when they walk in the door, setting an intention and creating a healing environment that actually speaks to you when you walk in before you even meet a human being. It says, we care about you. It says, we are going to take care of you. We're going to help heal you. So being in the Transformation Center tonight is amazing because it proves that out of every crisis comes an opportunity. And the Chinese symbols that share the symbol for crisis, one is crisis and one is opportunity. And I don't know where that's coming from. I know, there's a gremlin in the room. I'm like baffled. Hello. Who's in the room? It's funny. Maybe one of the guys has it on. Anyway, this is Sedona again. But I'm glad for the crisis of DSI and the crash of the economy, because I love my life now better than it was there. And we did it better here. And we provide more comprehensive care because we got the team behind us. So why, after 2016 and 2017, when I finally made it to the list, all these years I practiced in Philadelphia, 30 years, I finally make it to the freaking list. And then, and I'm out of here. But here's the deal. If you want to do something you've never had, if you want something in your life you've never had, you have to do something you've never done. And I had a great bowl of fish, and, Cass is over here, and Karen Renson's in that bowl with me. And we were in that little fish bowl all safe together in Victoria. And a lot of times it's hard to jump out of where you are, where you think, everybody knows my name, everybody knows what I'm capable of here, and this is great. But why would you jump into that bowl all by yourself? Yeah, Stacy's husband Dominic did that design. You can buy them from him. They're fabulous. So we got our Eagle sweatshirts. Why did I do it? Because there was something else that needed to be done in this life. There was something else that my soul was calling me to do. And Dr. Kreischer and Dr. Crothers were so ready to take over and to be large and in charge that I knew I could safely do this. So the next chapter is depression. And every year, we're seeing an incidence of depression rise and rise and rise. It used to go by 1% per year. Now it goes by 2% per year since 2006. And it's only getting worse. And I think that the technology, the distractions, the lack of relationships, the disconnectedness in our society is playing a huge role in this process. So just to let y'all know, we have a little study going on here at Holy Redeemer, and I call it the shift from the pill for the ill to Tessa. There's a technology that many of you who've been my patients have been referred for it. It's a technology that treats anxiety, depression, insomnia. We're doing a clinical study at Redeemer. All this stuff will get posted on Facebook as well separately, so if anybody's interested, I think we have information in the back of the room. But it's a clinical trial that uses a technology that doesn't give you a pill to mask the symptoms of depression. It actually helps to rechange the hypothalamic pituitary axis and give your body a chance to heal itself. So again, we're trying to put healing into healthcare. This is a Mariposa, Wendy knows. This is Mariposa. It's a fabulous restaurant in Sedona. Cass knows this restaurant too. Who else knows? Oh, the girls know this restaurant. Yeah, Beth Matlock knows this restaurant. Y'all got to come to Sedona. You'll know this restaurant. Just saying. So Bill Scarlett, who many of you know, gave me this book for Christmas. It's called The Happiness Advantage. It's an amazing book. And I love this book. Because what this book taught me was that I had a job as a doctor. But I could be an ER doctor, and I could be a trauma surgeon, or I could be a pediatrician, or I could be an allergist, and I would have a job because none of those would have done it for me. They would not have floated my boat. And then I found a career, and my career was a surgeon. I was a general surgeon for many years, and it was a great job. It was a great career. I was good at it. And now I realize that my slide's a little screwed up because you're not going to see what's underneath the happiness advantage, but I can tell you because I wrote it. This is what happens when you make your slides at dinner right before talk. So my calling is to be a healer. And as a healer and a breast cancer surgeon, that's exactly what God put me on the planet to be. And one of the things that I recognized over the past 2 years is that just because you're capable of a job or you're capable of a career, if it's not your calling, it's not going to make you want to get up out of bed in the morning and do it every single day. And there's some in the room that might argue, but I'm not a really good administrator. I don't shine in a boardroom. I show up, I might do a good job, I might be able to get things done, I might be able to move the needle. But it wasn't making my heart sing. So when this says, where your passion and purpose collide, you find your calling. And it's very true. And when you can find that collision between passion and purpose, it's all good. You're going to make a difference. So the next thing I needed to realize is I had to stop being so distracted by all the things, and meaning the technology, all the stuff, all the extra jobs, all the things that weren't letting me do exactly what I was called to do, which is to be a healer and a breast cancer surgeon. So we all have some attention deficit disorder. I think every high-functioning individual has a little bit of ADD. You can't help it. Some of us do better than others. But I would like to change ADD and change IDD, which is attention deficit disorder, which means that you can be distracted with every day in your life with attention deficit disorder. But intention deficit disorder means that you fail to go through life with the intention of creating change and shift in your life. Once again, attention deficit disorder, you're just distracted. You're all over the place. Intention deficit disorder means you're failing to find that purpose and to find that intention and to set that intention. So IDD needs to change to an intention-directed day. And every day when you get up and you set an intention, no matter how small that is, if you set that intention and you hold that intention, your life can change. So I believe that manifesting what you want begins with intention. And I'll share a little timeline with you because this is honestly how it happened, and to this day I still can't believe that it happened. In March 2014, I whispered to the universe that I wanted to be in Sedona in 3 to 5 years, and we were driving past Verde Valley Medical Center with the kids in the car going to Jerome for a hamburger. Sorry, not anymore. And we had gone down this one road, and I said, you know what, I could operate at that hospital someday. It looks really nice. People look friendly outside. And my kids, they're like laughing because they're like, Mom, you know what happens when you set intentions. Kind of like that's the way the world works. And the reason I thought 3 to 5 years, when Dean was done with college, and Catherine and Stacy were raised already. They're allowed to live alone. And I just thought, like, I've been doing stuff for everybody else all my life. What did I really want to do for me? What was I going to do for me? So then on March 16th, it was a random email. It turned into a cold call kind of interview. They called me up, and I wasn't even there for an interview. It was like a walk-in. And I gave them my timeline. I said, 2020 is a perfect time for me. 2019, 2020. Perfect time to go to Sedona. But their timeline was different. I went shopping, not to buy a house. Brenda was with me. We were just looking for neighborhoods. We were just seeing where we might want to live as a family in Sedona in a couple years. And we found this house. And I got to tell you, and the reason I'm sharing this with you is, once I decide that I want something, I change every password that I have to some iteration of that, because I type it in every single day. Because how many times do you type passwords a day? You got to put a password in to get to your phone. So I type in that password. So right now, Cass is going to be typing retirement now, retirement now. And Pagoda 2016 is not my password anymore. But I wanted that house, so I got back that March and I changed my password because I wanted that house that year. And I knew I couldn't afford it, but I changed the password, and guess what? Got the house in May. Then, when I realized that I actually did want that job, I changed my password to NAH. September 2017, because they actually wanted me in May of 2017, but I didn't want to go till September. So I made my password September 2017, and guess what happened? They didn't want me in May anymore because they were changing electronic medical records, and they couldn't take me until September when the EMR had shifted. So my intention worked, seriously. Now my password right now, it was 2017, but it's not 2017 anymore. But because I'm trying to create a breast care center that parallels and equals what we've created here at Holy Redeemer, and I'm not there yet. Got a lot of work to go. The center's begun, but I put out the intention. And then in January of this year, I met a couple. Randomly, but not so random. It's a long story. Was stopping to pick up gelato that I wouldn't be eating now because it's got dairy in it. Seriously, you can't make this up. Stopped at this restaurant to pick this up. Met this couple. And the owner of the restaurant, Lisa Dahl, who's a very dear friend, introduced them to me. And she goes, oh, this is the doctor that you need to meet. This couple created this little intention stick, which is it's a round tube. It's got a tree of life on it. And this little fabulous thing came into my life. And I can't, it's more than a thing. I can't, it's indescribable. It's an intention stick. It sets an intention. And every time one of these is purchased, they plant a tree around the world. They give money to foundations. And this little intention stick comes with a whole lot of words with a fabulous meaning. And you get to pick your words, and it's hollow inside, and you drop your words inside. So every day before I go to the hospital, or I'm going to a meeting, or I'm going to something, just as I set the intention with my passwords, these words that I put in this intention stick are setting the intention for what I want. For healing, let it be. To me, it's been like, it was a beautiful gift, because as I'm trying to get out of my attention deficit disorder life and into my intentional life, I find this amazing couple and this fabulous story and this lovely little intention stick. So here we are, we're shifting gears. It's the next book. I took a weekend to write it. I'm gonna, March 9th to the 12th, I'm putting myself out there, 9th to the 11th. I gotta get it done. It's been in my head for a long time. There was an ad in the front page of the Sedona Film Festival magazine, and I'm like, if not now, when, right? And if I fail to plan, then I'm gonna plan to fail. So I gotta make it happen. So now I'm shifting gears again. And is it time for you to shift gears? I can't answer that question for you. I got one of the chapters of my next book when I climbed to the top of Brewer Trail behind our house. It's not a tough hike. Deb did it with me, with all her BFFs. Climbed to the top of the trail, and I sat up there, and I recognized that it wasn't that this was a hard hike to get there. I mean, this has been 56 years. I've had loss, I've had tragedy, I've had laughter, I've had friends, I've had a ton of love and a lot of support. Sedona's the place that makes my heart sing. It may not be the place that makes anybody else's heart sing, but that doesn't matter, because I made a change for myself. Joe and I made a change for us as a couple, as a family. My kids love it there. I know I'm going to see them there. I have a gift to give to be able to create another center of excellence for breast care. The 30-plus women that I've treated for cancer since I got there, I got to tell you, every time one of those women comes back to my office and says to me, I feel like God put you here to take care of me, it lets me know that this, all of the work and the hard work, and it's not easy to start something new, believe me. Particularly when I don't have Cass at my side, running roughshod, pushing people out of my way when they don't want to change. The administrators there don't know me yet, and they're just getting to know me. But the patients know me. And for these women that have all said that they would have been driving 2 hours each way back and forth to Phoenix, and now they get to stay in Sedona, it says a lot. When patients tell me that their neighbor went to Phoenix last year, and I said, well, you're welcome to go to Mayo or CTC or whatever, get a second opinion. Like, no, we're not going anywhere. We're staying right here. So how do you know if it's time for you to shift gears? Are you still energized by what you do? Do you have a job, a career, or a calling? What is it? I can't answer that question for you. Is your soul being nourished by what you do every day? Are you giving your soul what it needs to grow? And is your health in balance? Are you giving your body the nutrients and the food that it needs to be the healthiest it can be? And let me tell you, I did not plan and make this crazy, oh my God, on January 1st, I'm never going to eat meat and dairy again. We literally came back from the conference on a Friday afternoon. We cooked a dinner with intention. And I said, you know what? I said, if Scarlett can do this, I can do this. Just kidding, Bill. No, and I just said, you know what? I looked at the health benefits and I said, how can I be a smart doctor and it's taken me 56 years to look at every morsel that I put in my mouth? And this isn't about saying you're a vegetarian eating a bag of potato chips. That is not being a vegetarian. I'm talking whole food, plant-based. I'm talking about giving your body the phytonutrients it needs. You know, and when people say, oh, you have to eat meat for the protein, what do you think the cows are eating? They're not eating meat. They're eating grass, God willing, if you pick the right cows. And do you love who you've become in this lifetime? It's a tough question. And are you proud of your legacy? And I know my mom, even though she can't remember, she used to say it all the time, I am so proud of you girls. I am so proud of you girls. And even though she can't say it, I look at her and I see it in her eyes. Because her soul talks to mine. She talks to all my sisters. We all know that even though, you know, not all the lights are on upstairs, she's still there. She still sends us love. She's been one of the most wonderful guiding lights in our life. And she's taught me so many life lessons, just like she taught me now, that you got to find a gift in everything that happens. My dad taught us as children, the only limitations you have in life are those you place on yourself. Irv Bachman, greatest quote ever. He didn't say, you know, your mom and I never went to college. Well, mom didn't even graduate. She didn't even graduate from high school. She went to 8th grade. He didn't say, you know what, we're not college-going people. You know, he did want me to become a plumber, full disclosure, because he thought I could be in the phone book under the first listing as A1 Adept Enterprises. I'm like, Dad, where did you get that? He goes, well, A1 Adept, and no one will be before you. The guy's a smart guy. But when I told him I was going to be kind of an internal plumber, like a human plumber, that was okay too. You know, it might not have been his first choice for me, but it was okay. But the limitations you have in your life are the ones you place in yourself. People say to me, how could you just pick up and move to Arizona? Try it! I mean, come on. It's, you know, it wasn't such a leap of faith. You know, jumping from one hospital to another to start a new cancer center, that was a leap of faith. Going from my fishbowl that I really like and I know how to feed everybody in there, to jumping in there by myself, figuring out how am I going to eat, that was a big deal. But deciding to move to a place that nurtured my soul and gives back to me and recharges my batteries every day. I know you guys have heard this. I'd come back from Sedona every spring break and I'd say, oh my God, my batteries are recharged. This is wonderful. I feel great. And the amount of time that my battery charge lasted kept getting less and less and less. And it's not because I'm a defective iPhone. It's because I needed that spiritual recharge every day. This is what I see when I come out of the office every day, kids. That's my car. That's my parking spot. This was Thursday night when I remembered I needed this picture for the talk. I walked out and I go, you are really blessed to be living in a place that you love, to have a parking spot. And my parking spot over there says physician without the G. It says, oh, physician parking, P-A-R-K-I-N, physician parking. And it's funny because like one day I parked one spot over and we don't have assigned parking spaces, but people like their space. And I was in somebody's space and they're like, you're supposed to be there. I'm like, so I'm physician parking. So this is when it started, 2001. That was our first trip to Sedona with the kids on the left. Dean, Tom, and I. That we had just done the breast cancer 3-day because I had my little fleece on. And that was the next year or two on the right-hand side with Joe, Tom, and Dean. And that's Dean looking so Dean. 2008, fast forward, it's just change the clothing, make the kids a little taller, same venue, same gorgeousness, not a green screen backdrop. And this is this Thanksgiving when we got the hot air balloon. And, spent, I guess it's our last turkey Thanksgiving. I guess Tom did ask me that the other night on the Skype dinner call. He goes, Mom, have we had our last turkey Thanksgiving of our lives? Like, I'm thinking so. But this is why. This is the why. I want to grow up with a smile on my face. I want to grow old with a smile on my face. I want to grow old healthy and happy. And I had to shift gears multiple times. I learned how to downshift. I learned how to skid on black ice. Today I tried to teach my sister how to go up the driveway in reverse because I forgot the stand. She's like, I will go down and turn around at the end of the driveway because she didn't feel comfortable backing up the driveway backwards. This was the moonrise last month on our porch, and I kid you not, unretouched photo. And y'all know what I say every day. You have to be the change you wish to see in the world. I think we all need to learn how to shift gears. We all need to learn how to, go back from our automatic transmission and go back to a place where we once again remember what life was like without all this automation. Remember what it was like to have dinners with our family sitting around the table. And you know what? I told I think it was Tom or Dean the other night. I said, we need to make something so we have a round screen in the center of a table. So you see the full picture of everybody at the dinner with you. So that while you're doing your Skype dinners, you get that full 360 view of everybody there. But don't be surprised when I email you or text you and say, hey, do you want to have a Skype dinner? Here's the night, here's the time, here's the menu. Why not?
Exactly.
It's disconnected us so much when we're there in person. Why don't we use technology to reconnect us? Cass knows Karen knows we're trying, this whole Polycom thing, trying to get people live in conferences. You would think that this is rocket science, trying to get people there live. Because I'll tell you what, I don't mind getting up at 4:30 in the morning, having my coffee, and being on a meeting with Karen and Cass and Mike and everybody. But when I'm sitting there and I'm on the phone, I'm like, if they're looking at me, I will get up and I'm going to put a little makeup on, But if I'm there in my jammies and my furry slippers, I'm not going to be as engaging as if I'm on that screen. And we have the technology, so let's use that technology. So find ways when you leave tonight to take stock in how you can shift gears in your life. Find your passion, find your purpose, and when they collide, you're there, you found your calling. So thank you guys.